Please, Ibu Uti, may give your presentation.
Thank you, Dia.
Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the quite late session. I'm on behalf of Catalyst, want to welcome you and then in this session. So in this session, as they are mentioned, we will talking about the human resources and the opportunity, especially in the creative economy. So today I will present one of the Catalyst study on the bilateral opportunity between Indonesia and Australia. Why we focus only Australia? Because IA-CEPA Catalyst is actually a bilateral program between Indonesia and Australia. But I think the result of our study is not limited only to Australian market, but can also expand to other market. So why we choose the creative economy? Because we know that next slide, please. We know that creative economy is have a big role in the economy, as Mas Menteri this morning also mentioned that the creative economy in Indonesia is actually has before this the slide previous slide, both in Australia and Indonesia. So I think one of the challenge or when we do the study is that actually Indonesia and Australia has different definition on the creative economy. So we need to kind of adjust what included in the Australian side and what included in Indonesian side. As you can see in this presentation, you can see some differences between the definition for Australian and Indonesian in the creative industry. Nevertheless, next, as IA-CEPA, one of the next slide, please. One of the medium-term objective of IA-CEPA is actually to support growth in tourism sector and also improve the capacity of SMEs in to utilize the IA-CEPA. So from that, we look from the Indonesian side and also the Australian side, what is actually the priority in both countries in the creative economy and also digital transformation. So although we have different priorities between Indonesia and Australia, but we find that actually there is a potential collaboration between Indonesia and Australia to expedite the digitalization. And from that study, we concluded that we have like 4 sectors that actually have the business opportunity between Indonesia and Australia. The first one is a game development. As we know that Australia have quite advanced game development, Indonesia have very good talent in the game development. So there's an opportunity there. The second one is the value chain innovation on food production from farm to fork. While in that sector, actually we want to utilize to optimize the utilization of digital. So how we can apply digital technology in the food production. And the third one is the traceability of sustainable fashion. As we know, now many countries really look at the sustainability of everything, not only the fashion, but also in others products. So I think one of the potential collaboration between Indonesia and Australia in the creative economy is how we can have this traceability of sustainable fashion. And we have here Ibu Janet from the Universitas Ciputra, which later on can explain more about the sustainability in fashion. And the last one is on the inclusive and educational play platform development, is on the early childhood education. Because we know that Indonesia, the access to the childhood education and also the play platform, it's quite limited. So we want to take advantage of the more advanced in Australian side on this particular sector. So I will just next slide. So I want to go more detail in each of the sector, but maybe due to the limited of time, I will not go for all. So maybe you can back to my presentation, please. Okay, first on the digital entertainment, we know that in world globally, the the growth of the game development is quite significant. So, based on the global game market report, it's predicted that the video game player will reach like 3.6 billion in 2050, from 2.9 in 2022. So we can see there's a quite big or large growth in the game development. And Indonesia is also the fourth largest gaming market in Asia. But unfortunately, only 0.4% actually the game that circulated in Indonesia is developed by the local developers. And I think this is when indicating there's a room for collaboration and investment. And I think later on, RMIT can explore more about this potential bilateral opportunity in game development. Next. So the potential mutual benefit, we know that there will be can be transfer knowledge from the upstream and downstream in game development, and also export-oriented strategy in game publishing. So with this internet or this online, the talent, Indonesian talent doesn't have to move to Australia to do this game developer. They can do it from their home, and then Australian company can access the Indonesian talent to develop the game publishing. And also, maybe there's also a opportunity to co-creating. So once we talk to one of the Indonesian game Indigo under the Telkomsel, and they also have this idea to also expand to Australia to take advantage of the more advanced technology in Australia. Next. The second is like value chain in the food production from farm to fork. To fork means that how the value chain innovation from the farm and using the main technology like AI, Internet of Things, blockchain, big data, and cloud computing, actually we can improve the Indonesian agricultural products to be sold in Australia with maybe not on the general market, but for the premium market, which is usually have a higher value in those products, so it can be have a higher value added to the farmer at the what is called hulu and hilir, like upstream industry. So farmer in upstream industry can have more value added if the downstream industry can apply this main technology that can increase the efficiency also and also productivity of those value chain. This presentation will be shared later on, so I will not go through one by one like in detail because of the time. So you can see that this is the industry outlook. And of course, the potential benefit, next slide, is that we can build technical and human capacity. So for the panel session, we have 4 panelists that focus on the human capital development. 2 from Indonesia, 3 actually, one is from the Ministry of Education that can explain like government strategy on this human development, especially in the creative economy and through the vocational education. And also, since Indonesia also have a very specific food or agricultural product, actually using the technology can improve the competitiveness in this creative economy, and of course, it can also improve the upstream industry, which is the farmer, to utilize trade agreement between Indonesia and Australia. Next. Now, another potential is the using the digital industry is the traceability of sustainable fashion, because next. We know that currently the fashion is actually one of the main contributor for Indonesian GDP in the creative economy sector. However, there is some issue on this fashion industry that now becomes a concern from many countries, that the consumer now really care about the sustainability or want to know where that product come from. They want to know the traceability of the product because this production and consumption currently most of them is not sustainable because they create greenhouse gas emission, waste water and everything. So to raise the consumer and also regulators and also ECG communities awareness and consciousness, I think now it's time for Indonesia also to explore the traceability of the fashion. In our study, we have a contact with one of the company that have the sustainable product from fashion. They are using the mycelium leather biotechnology, which is they use the some kinds of fungus that can produce product like leather. So it's just basically look like leather, but it's not from the cow or the goat, but it's actually from the fungus. And then the fungus is come from the food waste from the area surrounding those companies. So actually, this is one of the potential that this company also wants to enter Australian market and utilize that powerhouse economy that is under IA-CEPA. One of our idea is to create powerhouse economy between Indonesia and Australia. It means that Indonesia or Australia can export something to Australia and then process or further process in each country and then will be exported to not back to Indonesia or not back to Australia, but export to global market. So I think with the fashion of sustainable fashion, it can be one of the potential, and then we can also use Australian lab that have a very have higher standard and better procedures than the Indonesian laboratory to improve the quality of those sustainable fashion product. And the last sector that can be a potential is the inclusive and educational play platform. Next slide, please. And this one, we see that there's a possible another next, yeah. Another potential is we use this inclusive and educational play platform. Next, because we know that investing in the childhood development will make a very high return in the future. And sometimes this is not really in Indonesia. We can see that the we know the importance of the play for the early childhood education, but maybe it's not really become a focus of people here or education sector here. So the one potential is actually will next slide. So the mutual benefit that we use the professional scientific and technical support to provide consultation and also collaboration in architectural and also interior design to build the playground or play space to children, which is can encourage the development of their cognitive and also their what is yeah can make them become better children and have more or higher productivity in the future. So I think especially for Jakarta, actually it have a quite market potential here. So maybe we can adopt Australian techniques or Australian curriculum or how the structure of that playground to be adopted in Indonesia. So I think that's all what the result of our study in Catalyst. And maybe later on when we have the panel discussion, we can explore more from digital side and also from the fashion, sustainable fashion. And also we will also hear from Pak Adi from the Ministry of the Education what's actually the government strategy on that. So back to the MC. Thank you, Dea.
Thank you, Ibu Uti, for your comprehensive presentation. Continuing this, I will give the floor to Miss Aya, who will be our moderator for the discussion with our five speakers. To Miss Aya, you may have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Dea. Good afternoon, everyone. And as Mbak Dea mentioned, my name is Aya. I am another project officer from Catalyst, and I am here today to facilitate our discussions on talent development and mobilizations on creative industry. I think before we start our panel sessions, I would like to give the floor to our Bappenas representative, Ibu Apita Trisna. Ibu Apita, if you can hear us. Uh,
Hello, Miss.
okay.
I can hear you clearly, but do you hear
Uh,
my sound clear? Because here
yeah, I
in
think
Jakarta we have
we can't
thunderstorms.
really hear you, Ibu Apita. Please give us a moment to make it clear here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ibu Apita, can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear, Miss Aya.
Okay, I think okay. You can start share your screen and please go ahead with your presentations.
Audio aja, audio apa? Coba pakai Zoom, keluarin Zoom. Kayak Zoom.
Can I start now, Miss Aya?
Yes. Can you give us another 5 minutes? We still have an issue with the.
Okay, thank you.
Oke. Bisa. Gimana? Coba. Boleh dicoba lagi, Bu.
Everyone online.
Your voice is echoing, Miss Aya.
Yeah, I think it will get better once we mute in the room here. Okay, please start with your presentation.
Okay. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Miss Aya. Good afternoon, everyone. Mrs. Mukti. And Mr. Adi, Mrs. Janet, Mr. Prashil Singh, Mrs. Eunice Sari, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Apida, a junior planner at the Ministry of National Development Planning, or Bappenas. I'm here representing Mr. Wahyu Wijayanto, our Director of Industry, Tourism, and Creative Economy, and he sends his warm regards and apology as he cannot participate in this great opportunity to share with you all about the perspective of human resource management and talent development in the creative economy sector. So apparently I was just assigned in a short notice, so I hope I can deliver the points of fostering highly competitive talents in the creative economy here well, loud and clear. So we start from the general condition of this sector. Creative economy as one of the sectors that heavily affected by rapid advancement of technology faces several challenges, such as the development of artificial intelligence, AR, VR, dynamic online behavior that will shift the ecosystem of social media in the future, as well as the global concerns that previously mentioned by Mrs. Mukti, the sustainability practices, as well as the inclusivity and the gender issues. So as we all know, the customers are now having the high awareness about how the productions were executed and how they will leave the impact to other people by choosing to buy their products. And this all of aspects play a significant role in shaping how creative economy development needs to be strengthened in the future. So moving to Indonesian context, this sector is mainly supported by the activity in culinary, craft, and fashion subsectors. As we can see, around 94% talents or workforce were absorbed in the field and dominated by the Generation Y or millennials. It is also supported with the growth of the fine arts on the left side, the films and the music, showing that the content-based products are thriving in the country. And we can also see that this sector is showing its flexibility as 39.3% of the economy talents are home-based workers, meaning they can create added value from home or wherever they are. However, as we notice at the right bottom, the majority of the talents come from the lower education level. And up until now, the landscape of the skilled and the certified workforces remains unclear, so not really envisaged in the data. So how is the creative economy is planned to be developed in Indonesia? Well, the ecosystem is heavily fostered based on the intellectual property and supported with the highly competitive talents. In 2025 until 2029, we have the staging process in focusing the prioritized subsectors. We can see here the film, the animation, and then the music, as well as the fashion, craft, and also the culinary. And they are the subsectors that are expected to contribute the economic growth. So Indonesia's creative economy policy framework will focus on addressing key issues and challenges. So the strategic issues that we face right now in the creative economy, one of them is the productivity and the competitiveness of the talents in the creative economy sector, especially in terms of IP, the commercialization of intellectual property. What is interesting that we find in creative economy ecosystem in Indonesia, the intellectual property registration is promising, but the level of the commercialization stays low. That's why we still have a huge amount of homework to solve this together. Okay, these are the highlights of the strategy. So from the incubation, the curriculum improvement, until the collaborative actions to create the ecosystem to fill the gap between the supply and the demand of the talents and industry. And this policy is expected to be supported by the infrastructure policies. So it cannot be left like by itself, the incubation and also the education structure, but also needs to be supported by the infrastructure policy. And this also implies in the digital talents, because digital talent development policy is also one of the main focuses, because there is a gap between the needs in industry and supply of the talents. So the needs in industry right now is the high skill talents, while Indonesia currently having not enough the number of high skilled talents to drive the development of the digital economy, and it will lead the risk of unemployment due to the low skilled talents who cannot meet the needs, the rapidly growing and digital industry. So as I mentioned before, that the policy is the policy needs to be supported by the role of the infrastructure. In creative economy, creative spaces play a big role in fostering the talent development. It facilitates the business incubation, the acceleration programs, the networking, the mentoring and assistance, as well as the contents and events, and also the workshops that enable the knowledge exchanges. For example, if we know that the Arcadia Earth as the sustainable creative learning, is expected to increase public awareness about sustainable economy. And then the production centers and the culinary experience center. And collaboration is also the key to move further. There are several initiatives which focusing on upskilling and upscaling the talents in the content-based products such as game, intellectual property management such as geographical indication, and the creative village development. But we need to intensify, which lead us to the last slide of the deck, the collaboration potential between Indonesia and Australia. So in a short term, join short course scholarship for creative skills such as screenwriting, screen producing, virtual production, sustainable or modest fashion design, and so on is needed. The co-designing workshop and training of trainer programs in the creative industries, including for supporting role in terms of IP commercializations or IP appraisals. The leadership, the management is also needed. And the third one is inviting the foreign universities to open programs in Indonesia, and the collaborative incubation programs that are for the short term. And for the medium until long term, we need to collaborate in higher education, scholarship, internship, research and development, long-term mentorship, I'm sorry, this is typo, and exchange program. And the second one is collaborating in creative studies curriculum development. And we also need to co-design cultural workshops, optimizing the role of the creative space, and teaching staff capacity building. And the last one is the vocational colleges. So I think that's all from me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Bhavita. I hope it's safe for like another 45 minutes. If we have follow-up questions for you, and before I invite our speaker offline, I would like to give the floor to show our video for our from Ibu Yunis. Ibu Yunis is Ibu Yunis joining us from Perth, but due to unforeseen situations, she sent us a tapping video. Ibu Yunis is the CEO and co-founder of UX Indonesia, and UX Indonesia is the first insight-driven UX research, training, and consulting company based in Indonesia since 2002. She is also a co-founder and customer experience insight in Australia, and also an adjunct associate professor at the School of Computer Science and Engineering in UNSW. Could you please help us to play the video?
I'm from Indonesia. It's a UX company based in Indonesia, Jakarta. We have operated our business since 2002. So I think that 22 years we're doing this work together. And our mission is to help company to become a unicorn. So basically what I mean by unicorn is like a company to find their identity, their strength, and they can by finding that in themselves, so that they can actually like deliver product and services that the users really love it, and especially to answer the problems that the user face, especially like particularly interested in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, addressing this issue using human-centered design and then apply it into different types of industry. So our company has been working in with diverse stakeholders from the government, from the non-profit organizations, also companies like a small, medium business, even a micro companies, startups, and also academic as well, like a university and school as well. So because every organization, they have their products and services that they want to sell. So that's what we're doing, like we are helping them to build, to design, also to audit. They already have the service that they have, and also to leverage to scale up the service that they have. So my background is in IT product design, but I also have a background in social culture also like languages and also in IP and user centered design. So with that, like an interdisciplinary background, basically, we are able to address different needs of the client from a different practical industry. So, in regard to the UX skills in Indonesia, what kind of skill most demand UX skill and competency in Australia, and how does the Indonesian talent pool currently align with this list? Yeah, well, I will just like discuss it from the my personal point of view and also my experience. By doing the work here in Australia as well, we see that there is a different expectation in terms of the skills for becoming a UX user experience, I would say here in Australia as well as in Indonesia. As practitioners and also lecturers in human-computer interaction and user experience, I see that in Indonesia, the job that is required by most of the company when you talk about UX, they always say about UX/UI, which is often misleading because UI is actually part of UX. So UX is not equals to UI. And that's why this misconception has become such a big thing in and lead in a way how a company actually have their product design and development strategy. Because of this, like when people are looking for a job related to the UX or UI, they're only focusing on the design of the interface. The interface, when we're talking about interface here, we're talking about interface of the mobile phone, interface of the website, interface of any product that we have. But actually, like when we talk about UX, the journey actually starts when you conceive idea. The idea is conceived because there is a need, there is a problem. And then like based on that, you are developing solution. And then the solution needs to be matched with the business capabilities and needs of the company, whether they are able to develop such kind of solution, whether the technology is available, whether the culture is actually suitable for that kind of solution. And then that's why we have what is called like a business design here, which is part of the UX. And once we come up with the concept or idea, and then we can develop the solution deeper, where we are talking about the architecture of the information. We were talking about how human interact with the technology. And then after that, we make the concept into a more reality, like where we are. This is the time when we are talking about the interface. So the interface is only the final part actually for the product and services. But unfortunately, this is where the gap is. In Indonesia, we are mostly like a lot of a company, they're focusing not on the user part, not on the business part, but what is like what product will look like. Even though like there are more and more company that actually talk about user experience, and then they're starting to talk about understanding user and understanding business. There are still not many of them, and they are still not they are not really like a go into deep when we actually comparing to Australia. But when we are talking about US, just do a checking, like a go to SIG.com.au, for example, or looking for a job in UX, right? And what we are actually finding out, it's very different. We have the normal like a graphic design where people like looking at the design, how it looks like. But we also have people talking about the service design. This is like usually like a lot of organization, government think about that. How we can actually redesign the service. There is no the product is the service, very abstract. It's not very intangible compared to the mobile phone and everything. Sometimes we can use technology like that, but this is the service that we are redesigning. Maybe service of queuing, when you are paying for your tax, waiting, and then like the office, how the office will look like. So that is part of the UX, which is in Indonesia, it is not really discussed. And that's why a lot of the graduates, when they graduate, when in Indonesia, initially only part of the cafe or the design and communication faculty. But initially it was, if you look back from the history of the user experience, it's coming from the computer science and psychology and ergonomic. But in Indonesia, initially was only TKP, and then it goes to computer science, but even in the computer science, it was not really like the main thing. And then we also now have in Indonesia information system faculty also have this UX as well. But it's a bit very late. It's late compared to what we have here in Australia. So that's why there is a big need, and then there's a big gap in terms of skills from Indonesia if they want to go into Australian market. But if, say, for example, on the other hand, if Australian people want to go to Indonesia, the Indonesian community, they will think, oh, well, we don't really work on that. It's like beyond the scope. So sometimes that's where often the conversation becoming a bit weird. Well, that's part of the business. We are not really like talking about that. So I think that is the first part that I want to share with you. So in terms of the existing collaboration that we have done with Australian company and institution to expand and mobilize talent, especially addressing the gap, my example would be our own company in Indonesia, UX Indonesia. We are actually like partnering exclusively with the customer experience inside in Australia, based in Perth, Western Australia. So basically why we partner, it's because we see this gap. And then we know that there are a lot of projects that need to be done in Indonesia based on either it's a government grant or, for example, in my state, Western Australia, we are focusing a lot on like inviting and encouraging company to go to Indonesia. And this one, to address this situation, actually, with the customer experience as our partner here in Australia, we provide first is professional learning. And with this professional learning is actually we're trying to see the gap, and especially in terms of digital transformation, how we can actually help the company in Indonesia and also here. This professional learning, we organize workshop, training, conferences, certification, work integrated learning, learning integrated work, boot camps in both countries, in Indonesia as well in Australia. In Australia, we have Australian certified expert to deliver the competency-based learning, which is not the university level, but it's more into maybe certificate 4, certificate 3, certificate 2, basically providing real tools or real skill that people can actually use it, both here in Indonesia as well in Australia, to be able to run the project, to be able to address different kind of challenges. And our focus is in business and digital technology. And if, say, for example, Indonesian people taking these courses with us, because we have quite a large network of company and institution across Australia, like in Western Australia, in the New South Wales, Victoria, and the Northern Territory. Basically, we can create customized training for them, and then anyone here, like they can get the certificates from doing the training with us and delivered by us and our partners. sometimes there is a gap, like when you just bring everything to Indonesia, Indonesian people does not really need it, or is it maybe too much or less? So our role here is like actually making it like a more customized. So it fits the needs of Indonesia, but also does not really making the Australian standard going down because unfortunately, like as we know that in Indonesia, we don't really have like a clear standard in terms of the competency base. For example, in Australia, you got a training a standard that actually govern what needs to be done, right? Like the tick box, what to make you as, say, for example, as a business analyst. And that is something that when you go to Indonesia, it's really unclear, like the standard competency standard in Indonesia. And that's what we are doing. And then once we do that, we are actually like with our partners as well, we do this talent exchange program. We're allowing people from Indonesia coming to Indonesia as well as people from Australia to go to Indonesia because we thought that is the best way for making people to, like learn from each other. And then with the company that already like a strong enough, like we do like a lot of a product market fit and go to market strategy for both Indonesian as well as Australian companies. And we do the research for them. We involving the people from Indonesia and Australia. So during this process, there are a lot of learning that has been happening. And learning is not, they have a choice, getting the certificate or getting the experience. So work integrated learning or learning integrated work actually helping them to get both. And again, like the formal way, it's through the certification, coaching, mentoring, and workshop. What I think is like when we're talking about Indonesia, we have actually a lot of but not benefit. It's more a lot of strength. Indonesian people has a good strength that actually we people here in Australia can learn from it as well. So because we have a lot of people from different ethnic groups, so we are getting used with this all diversity and multiculturalism. When we develop something, right? Like we're starting to think, okay, well, this might be good for here. So that a feeling of empathy and then feeling of really like trying to understand different kind of people and then being able to have a sensitivity. It's something that we need to value from people in Indonesia. But unfortunately, like not everyone being able to communicate this like a language is like such a big barrier for all our conversation. Sometimes like we have so much data, but when we communicate with people, like kind of like lost in the translation, and that's a bit sad. Even though through the research there are so much data that we gathered, and this is something that we need to actually help people as well, like to have more confidence because we, as Indonesia, we got so much thing to offer. And then also the other thing is like because we have a lot of companies helping that we help like from overseas, like they are trying to export or they are trying to contextualize their product in Indonesia. First, like they were quite shocked how we can actually like adapt with so many changes, like sometimes like you plan to do something but it doesn't happen, but we are okay with that one, right? And this kind of like it's actually good because they will be able to understand that if you are actually creating a product, you cannot just get the answer straight away, everything on the app. There are a lot of uncertainty. You need to call the person. You need to make sure that this is the right order. It is the right thing to do. But yeah, it's a lot of like a richness here in Indonesia. But again, like we don't really have so much standard to understand. we don't have so much exposure to the global network, which is actually, it's something that it's our homework, but we can do it, right? Like it's, as long as we create a framework that is clear and then we communicate it to people, I think this kind of issue can be solved. And then like when people from Indonesia, it's quite easy to, like it's quite easy, especially for people who have the spirit of learning. And you just need to just making it as a formal thing. And yeah, so and then the other thing is that because we are lack of exposure, what we can actually do is helping people to build their portfolio. So through the work integrated learning that we are actually doing, actually we help people to build portfolio to have the experience from both countries. And that's been really helpful. And everyone that has been through this process, actually, they can go up. They do really well back in Indonesia, and they do really well here in Australia as well. Even though they don't have to move here, they expand their network, and they have a very good. They build their network and connection, which allow them maybe in the future to provide like a to come here to Australia or to contribute to Australia in general and both ways. Yeah, I think that's more or less that what I want to discuss, but I'm happy to, to, if you have any further question on that.
Okay. I think that's a really insightful point of view from the business side, and we can see that there is a gap in both skill and practice between Indonesia and Australia. And I believe it's not only in the UX sector, but most of our creative economy sectors. Okay, so before we continue, I want to welcome our offline panelists and resource person. First, we have Bapak Adi Nuryanto. Pak Adi is the Director of Partnership and Alignment of Vocational Education with Business and Industry from Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, where he served as the attaché for education at the Indonesian Embassy in Moscow. And then the second one, we have Ibu Janet Rine Teowarang. Ibu Janet is the lecturer for fashion product design and business at Universitas Ciputra, Surabaya. She is also a founder and creative director for her own fashion brand called Allegra Jade. And then the third one, we have Mr. Prashel Singh. He is the director of partnership College of Vocational Education from RMIT University. He's a very visionary leader with over 20 years of experience driving growth and innovation across public and private sectors. Okay, so I think we have some short explanation first from Bapak Adi for the strategy to bridge the human resource management and also talent development in creative industry especially between Indonesia and Australia. I think you can have like 5 to 8 minutes, Bapak, to explain briefly about the strategy.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Aya. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, we realized that the gap between the human resources provided by the education system in Indonesia is really have a huge gap with the requirement that needed by the industry in terms of soft skill or hard skills, in terms of the communication skills, in terms of many standard required by the industries. And yeah, we do realize this as a challenge on how to overcome this challenge. We also have a challenge on the unemployment. So the program is, or the strategy is to provide a link and match. But before that, we also realized that the structure of industries that define the structure of workers is really things that we need to observe more, because this is one of the outside aspect of the educational system, but it really define why and how our economy is growing. Because without understanding of that situation, we will struggle with something that we cannot overcome. I mean, through the top-down approach, that we should restructure our industries and businesses. I mean, in terms of mastering the technology, not only sending the human resources to the industries through internship or scholarship, but we really need in sometimes to master our own technology. Of course, we need to stand hand in hand with our neighborhood countries to do together. How can we also define our own technology tools to manage our natural resources? So then the second thing about I call it bottom-up approach, because we of course need to manage how to bridge the gap. So we call it industrial gaps. It's really challenging, as provided or presented by the previous speaker, that we do not have a clear standard on the competence. We lack of the high talent, high skills, talent, and other things. So the approach is that we need to open widely the participation of industry to education. And we do have it, the regulation. We have a presidential decree number 68, year 2022, which is the education system principally, the development of vocational education in principle is the obligation, not only the Ministry of Education, but also the businesses and industries. It's really stipulated in the Article 8, even clearly there. So, but since as I mentioned before, that the industrial structure of our countries maybe still depend on the, let's say, foreign technology and foreign investment, so that we cannot, let's say, invite the industries clearly to contribute to the education system. So this certainly become the things that we also always advocate the industry, that they could come to the educational system, like providing some of the speaker mentioned about the certification, the standard of the competence, skill competence, and provide, of course, the internship, the apprenticeship, and also sending our teachers to the industries to upskill and reskilling their knowledge and skill. And also, we also do the aligning the, we call it a job that exists in the industries, align with the education system through a scheme of job. So we align with the standard of national standard of competence that should be aligned with the industry. But this still in much in the part of industries. When we translate it to educational system, we need a lot of efforts there, because we, as we know, lack of teachers that have a competence and experience in industries. The other thing is that we also try to bring the industrial environment to the schools, which is sometimes we can do by providing the industrial class in schools. We also invite the industries to open some of the kind of scheduling to use the equipment in the industry, so that more students can have the experience on the using the tools and practitioners in the industries. As we can see in the advanced countries, they really lucky to have a strong linkage between the education system with industry, that industry could open more seats, not only seats, but also scheduling the students and lecturers to experience more skills and knowledge in industry, like 2 days in a week in class, and then the other 3 days every week in industries. It's really challenging because our industry is not so many industries interested in opening the opportunity for students. Many causes, something like they are still struggling with the how to create profits more. So, but But as we know that we develop our country together, so that is why in the Article 8 of the President Decree that the development of educational system should be the obligation of not only Minister of Education, but also the industry. So I think that is in short of our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Adi. I don't think it is easy to summarize that long presentations. And Pak Adi has mentioned that Indonesia has lack of high skill worker, and it is a challenge for Indonesia, especially in creative industry. And Pak Adi also mentioned that we don't only lack of competencies and skill, but we also lack of infrastructure and supporting infrastructure about creative industry. I think it will be great to hear from both our top and leading university, both in Indonesia and Australia, about how Universitas Ciputra and RMIT actually do in Indonesia and Australia to provide the best talent in the creative industry. Maybe we can start with Ibu Janet.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to this presentation. Just going through quickly. Okay, my name is Janet. Yeah, I'm representing Universitas Ciputra Surabaya. So the next slide, please. So first, it all begin with our founder. So Dr. Ciputra here have a dream that we will have the 4 million new entrepreneurs in Indonesia. Yeah, so this is his last wish, actually, yeah, in 2011. Okay, the next. Okay, so UC founded in 2006, and we are already expanding by this far. Yeah, so we just accredited A, or we call it in Indonesia is Unggul, yeah. And then we have QS ranking as well. Yeah, and then we developing students year by year, and then we have a very large number of students every year. And then we have new building here. We have a UC Tower here. Yeah, and then we have 20 study programs now. Yeah, and at 8 schools. Okay, the next. Since I'm from the School of Creative Industry, so I'm just telling you briefly about the projects in the creative industry. So the next one. So this is from fashion. So actually we collaborated with city government, and then we also carried the sustainable development goals, which is we collaborate with the Triple Jeans for the denim waste projects. And then also we collaborated with Karya Mita Budi Sentosa for the leather waste. And then we also collaborated with the Mangkunegaran Palace for the batik design motif. The next. And then this is from the visual communication design project. So actually we are from the SGI, yeah, the School of Creative Industry. We have 3 study programs. We have fashion, and then we have visual communication design, and then we have interior architecture study program. So this is from the VCD, yeah. They design many things and then collaborated with like local famous restaurant is Kuali, and then with Wacom, and then also with the community service projects with the Kampung Peneleh village. Okay, next. And then this one from the interior architecture project. So it's they have like a entrepreneurial professional experience, and then they have collaboration with the city of government of Surabaya to make the redesign the market, the Keputaran market, and then collaborated with the Mangkunegaran Palace in Solo for the library, refurbish the library design. Okay, next. And then this one is the UC partnership with Australia. So actually, we already have existing Australian partners in UC. We have Curtin, and then we have Swinburne, and then also Macquarie, and so on. And then this one exploration process with the Griffith and Southern Cross University. Hopefully, the next with RMIT. Okay, this is so that one is about UC, and then since I was also Australian alumni, so I was selected as the awardee as one of the 25 Indonesian creative industry player in international business readiness for fashion and textile sector in Australia. So the course is run by Queensland University of Technology. This one is in 2017. Okay, next. As Australian alumni, so I eligible to submit the proposal for the grant scheme. So in the first place, they have Australian Alumni Grant Scheme, or they call it the AGS. So this one, actually, we have to promoting the 3 pillars of sustainability in fashion industry. Focus area in Pasuruan Regency is Java. Yeah, so we supported by the local government and also by Consulate General Australian in Surabaya. Okay, next. The next one, I got it again in 2021, which is the same title, but it's a follow-on grant. So this one is more focused to the aesthetic batik motif, and then we are using the natural dyes. So we introduce the batik artisans how to use the natural dye process, and also to create the waste, yeah, into the organic waste treatment. Yeah, so it will relate to our goals of the sustainable goals. Okay, next. So this is our outcomes from the AGS 2021. So we are able to showcase our results at PayPal Melbourne Fashion Festival online, because at that time it's the COVID, yeah. And then we also have the opportunity to be for the publication for the New York-based platform magazine. Okay, next. Next slide. Okay, me, I'm also editor at Galan Magazine Australia, and also a current perennial. So currently, Galan Magazine Australia visited Surabaya last time in a part of ICAS conference. Yeah, so they gather around the artisans that inside the article of Galan Magazine Indonesia. So they created special Indonesian edition. They call it the Kampung Launch. Yeah, so it's inside all about Indonesian craft, Indonesian wastra. Yeah. Okay, next. And then also I have collaboration as well, and then have the opportunity also to sharing sustainable fashion with the UTS students last time in 2021. And then some research with the associate professor at UTS. And then also I was selected for my paper for the conference All Hands on Deck organized by UTS as well. Okay, the next. Okay, this is, I'm going to Australia next month. Yeah, participate for the FOMA in Sydney. Okay, this one will be bringing the natural dyes, Pasuruan Regency batik with the aesthetic motif design, batik design. The next. And then I got it again. Yeah, the new grant from Australia. Okay, and then this one I will bring the airy silk. Yeah, Indonesian has the very nice, very good airy silk to Brisbane. Yeah, okay, the next one. Okay, this one. So this one, the presentation. So next month we'll be going to Sydney and also we'll going to Brisbane for the airy silk and batik, Indonesian batik. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Janet. I think if everyone wants to ask, have a questions and want us to Pak Ibu Janet, or letter to RMIT, you can just write it down first and we will give a floor to you after this. And we have heard about what Ciputra did to bridge the gap for the talent in creative industry. I think now we will hear what RMIT did to actually what they did in Australia and what they think they could do to bridge the gap between Indonesia and Australia. Okay, please.
Thank you.
Rachel.
Thank you, Ms. Aya. I think while the team is actually putting on a presentation, everyone had one, so I thought I had to work something on the fly. But look, deeply grateful and thankful to be part of the conversation today. And I think there's some really great work that's been happening with all the speakers and the providers. So, you know, keep up the good work in that sense. I'd like to probably just emphasize that when you look at RMIT University, RMIT is a dual sector university. We're one of the largest dual sector provider in Australia, where we do vocational education. And we also have a university that pathways programs from certificates, diplomas, associate degrees into bachelor's, master's, PhD, research, and so on and so forth. For numbers' sake and ranking sake, you can see what's on the slide there. We are highly regarded as one of the international top universities around the world. And in Australia, we're ranked number one. Sorry, if you just go back, number one in particular discipline rankings. So arts, design, textiles, built environment, urban design, architectural, all those sorts of things. Probably really important, this slide here, and I think one of the other presenters, I was really pleased to see there was a vision there to SDG goals, and I think that's always important as part of the work in which we all do, need to contribute to those SDG goals in that sense. And so across a number of goals, you can see particularly RMIT's activities are highly ranked or ranked either first, second, 19th or 37th in that sense, across some really interesting but more pertinent goals that we are deeply committed to as a university. And moving throughout this slide, you can see here that as a university, we're a global footprint. We have either campuses, articulation partners, research partners, or exchange partners across the world in which they help us achieve these plethora of programs in which we deliver. So if you think about RMIT, there are three things that we are typically regarded for: technology, design, and enterprise. And across those disciplines, we have different colleges, the business and law, which focuses on everything on enterprise, business, accounting, marketing, all of those sorts of things. Design and social context, which is a big part of our university. And in this particular space, we have articulation programs into fashion, textiles, design, creative, and a whole range of different areas, media, communication. We have STEM, so traditionally our engineering, computer technology, and I think we are needing to emphasize the work that while we're talking design, in adjacent to that, technology plays an important part of that ecosystem as well. And so our university is integrated across our discipline, cross disciplines, to ensure that technology supports all the other disciplines in which we deliver. And the college that I represent, our vocational college, and the vocational college has about 5 clusters. And within the 5 clusters, we have creative industries, which is, again, in an articulation pathway, stackable skills, skill sets, micro-credentials, certificates, their pathways into formal programs to support our domestic need and to also support our industry needs internationally in that sense. So just reflecting on the work that we're doing specifically in gaming and the creative sector, just to keep the conversation focused there, not diverse, but you'll have the slides, so that feel free to sort of share and reach out to me if I need to share more insights in that sense. But as the largest provider in the digital screen animation games, VFX training within Australia, we have deep capability to leverage that expertise in markets where there's a demand signal for it. So certainly we have world best in class, best in breed virtual set studios with a density reality for those who have had the opportunity to visit Melbourne and to see the work that we do. We've had many countries across ASEAN come and look at our setup to see how they could replicate it for their particular purposes and contexts. Melbourne is a large gaming capital with over 170 game developers, development studios accounting for about 87% of the Australian gaming industry exports. So we have a lot to offer the world in by way of how we not only provide the curriculum, deliver those curriculum, but also industry applying that curriculum in context to either run their own business, develop games, and to work with the globe and the ecosystem in a global context. This morning in the panel, I talked about this to be a very important part of that ecosystem, that RMIT cannot, and in fact, for that matter, I probably should just step back and say, it's not just RMIT. Australia has a very deep quality education system. We're one of many quality providers in the marketplace that can solve for a range of programs and solutions. And we typically follow the same formula here, is that it's really important that the work we deliver from an education or academia point of view, while we have a social and a student contract with our learners, it's important for us to show them the light as to why they are doing this, and is to support pathway or demand signals in which industry is demanding those skills that are needed. Government and industry also needs to play a role in terms of demystifying the status perception in terms of when it comes to vocational education versus higher education as well. It's not to say one is better than the other. They both have a very meaningful part to play, but certainly from our perspective, there's activity or attention that needs to happen, and different markets have different maturity in their thinking. And if you go deep in particular sectors, there's another level of maturity that plays out there as well. So certainly from our point of view, to solve for a seamless transition, we bring all of our parties together to ensure that we co-design, co-create, look at the challenges, narrative in how we can solve for that, and just creating an excellence model. And I guess what you see here are different ways in which we leverage our university infrastructure activities to create an excellence, whether that might be through industry and creating industry programs. And Pakadi mentioned about partnerships with industry and delivering code, whether that's at academia or whether that's academia going into industry. Very important that it's not a binary choice. It's actually an integrated by design. And that obviously goes in different contexts. We're doing amazing work in Indonesia at the moment, particularly in Batam, training and skilling up a new gaming talent. We're delivering that under the Campus Merdeka program through partners in Batam, in the ecosystem there through Nongsa Digital Park, Infinite Studios, who are deeply connected with obviously other digital ecosystems, whether that might be IBM, Red Hat, Apple, and a few others. So for us, it's giving our learners real experiences and deep experiences to apply that learning. And I was talking about before that, and I think someone raised in the discussion, we don't necessarily need to cross borders to create those experiences. We are here, and we've got participants online today joining us to create those virtual connected networks by which our learners here can access best of breed offshore as well. And not just in Australia and Indonesia, in fact, ASEAN for that matter. And so we know there's a population or an industry across the region that really wants to contribute to this, because it's a tripartite benefit in that sense. And so creating a model or an excellence framework that allows to solve for local, regional, and other markets as well. And I think not losing sight on that is really important, which is more of a sustainable way of seeing how we do that. But certainly, it goes without saying, funding is important, access to world-class facilities is important, access to industry current, but also industry participating in terms of where we're going and moving forward, and having access to research and innovation labs that might help, test and reimagine I think it's called design fiction, I was told the other day, having design fiction sessions to see how we reimagine the way in which we work for the future of work. And certainly, very importantly, the matching. And we've done this successfully. We've done this during COVID, the most difficult time in every country's lived memory experience. We had to look at how we move displaced workers in areas of demand. And we did that effectively, seamlessly, integrated online, bringing parties together where we had what were the jobs in demand, identify those employers, do the gap training, badge them and certify them, and then move them through the ecosystem. And certainly that model can be applied anywhere, so it's not a secret sauce in any particular way. But I guess for us is that when we do this, we are creating an ecosystem that keeps the wheel turning. The other thing too, if I just emphasize purely on creative, we're doing game design in Batam. And yes, the ambition is to support the creative sector here, and particularly the game development ambition that we heard through many speakers. But it's not about the product, it's about the application of that skill. Because gamification not only applies just in game development, it applies in education. It applies in tourism for that matter as well. And how do we create tourism experiences through gamification? And then so far I've talked about technology. Well, how does technology also play a part in supporting that industry to make sure they've got the Internet of Things and currency of those skills to ensure that gamification, tourism, and all the integrated technology data stack or tech stack actually plays their part. So like I said, you look at this holistically rather than just from a sector perspective. And so we are working with a model in which we're delivering a program to solve for, let's say, yes, game developers, but it's not just for that purpose. It can be extended in other contexts as well, which we think there's application to do that. I know, like, for example, cyber is another area of demand in this particular market, particularly all the challenges in which Indonesia has faced. Now, how can I use the talent from gamification point of view, because you have such a young population as well, that we need to engage them. And so the way in engaging them is actually getting that skill and the content together and providing that in an interactive way to get your message across. So you can see that the benefits multiply upstream, downstream in different ways in which we can do that. So certainly my closing remarks is two things to regard is that Australia is a knowledge partner. RMIT is one of those dual sector universities. There are many others as well. We don't do everything, but certainly in the creative sector, we are well regarded, whether it's fashion, recycling, and waste management. There's a whole range that we do, urban design. And again, the deck goes more into that. But certainly regard Australia as a knowledge partner in which they can provide a vehicle there. And we also have the opportunity of making the ecosystem, like, you want to build a talent, you want to build an industry here. Economic development goes hand in glove with education. So you need to have a talent pool here to attract those investment and those industry and enterprise. Equally, enterprise needs to commit as much as to give you the right demand signals to invest in the right programs and portfolios. So like I said, it's bringing the parties together. It's creating a space in which excellence can be sort of debated and discussed and products can be imagined, and then working with stakeholders to test that out. And we've been able to do that. We thought we'd start small in Batam, and I think we were, demand exceeded supply. I think in that sense, we had 1,200 to 1,500 applications to go join our program. And again, we need government to support that here with our ecosystem. We actually need universities and other ecosystems that are in the creative space to be part of that journey as well, because again, it's about capacity building, not just for the industry to get that talent, but also the trainers and educators in order to lift up their proficiency to actually be part of the solution across the network in a connected way. I'll pause there.
Okay, thank you, Prashil. It is really great to hear that RMIT already has a program and focus in game development in Indonesia and Batam, you mentioned. And you also mentioned that it is work with the Ministry of Education under the Campus Merdeka program. We are lucky today that we have one representative from the Ministry of Education. So I just want to us because Pak Adi previously mentioned that technology is one of the focus for the strategy under Ministry of Education in developing talent in creative industry. And then Prashil previously mentioned that technology, gamification, and integrated system is also play most important part, not only in creative industry, but also answer employment issue and other greater issue. I want to hear from the government perspective how, if we already had another program with RMIT or other vendors, how it will serve or how it will bridge the gap for talent pool in Indonesia.
Thank you, Mbak Aya. So yeah, indeed, the collaboration with the industries as example from the Batam, tomorrow I will go there, Nongsa Park, actually. I will say that I heard a lot about it. But the clear characteristic of one of the clear characteristic of the advancement of the sustainable innovation is that the innovation should be connected to the global supply chain. This is a stable market, let's say, compared to the local or national market is not really sustained, so that we cannot grow up our standard or other skills and knowledge. So one of the way to do that is we should get connected into global market, global supply chain, and it is well showcased by the industry in the game technology field, because it is more, let's say, easier. Of course, it's not easy to connect to the global market or to acquire the skills, but it is we just need to have a computer, of course, skills, and then we connect it to the global market and exports orders, so the innovation will be sustained since we have connected to the global supply chain. So this pattern will be a kind of examples of the way to advance our skills and knowledge is to be connected to the global market. So I would like to go to my slide that I already prepared before. So this is the once we connected to the global market, so we can sustain our innovation. We could have various program like internship, joint curriculum development, teaching industry, practitioners, project-based learning from the industry. So it should be international standard. Of course, we accommodate the national standard, but to sustain the innovation, we should connect to the global supply chain. Competency certification, applied research collaboration, industrial class, and of course the engagement to the industry for teacher and lecturer. Next slide, maybe. Yeah, this is again about the gap. So the industry should support the web development, and it creates a demand workshop. But this is one of the supplying the human resources, but acquiring technology, master the technology, also another side of workforce for researchers to create our own technology, of course, together with the neighboring countries. Next slide, maybe. This is another approach for bringing the industrial environment to the classroom, let's say. We need to think headmaster as the CEO. We need to think the desk as the workshop table. We need to see the board as the circuit board and other things. So it's really to bring the industrial environment to the classroom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Buddy. It is really good to see that the government had already planned some things to address this gap. And I just had a notice from the committee that we have really limited time. So I think I will close the sessions. And if the participant had further questions to RMIT, to Ciputra University, or even to PAAD itself, you can directly email Catalyst to info@IA-CEPA-catalyst.org. And we will be happily relay your questions and get back to you once we receive the answer. So thank you for such a fruitful sessions. and I will hand over the stage back to the MC.
Thank you, Ms. Aya, for the session, and thank you to our speakers to give your presentations. It is very insightful. And before I end the session, I would like to invite everyone to take a photo. So you could come to the front and we will take a photo before we close the session. Everyone, please, I invite you.